The basic view I have about Shin Buddhism is as follows. Well, as much as I see the laws of nature prevails everywhere, this is what's called other power in Shin terminology, and I see it as miracles, including me being here alive. Amazing. It makes sense to have the laws of nature as the core of who I am. Without that, I'm not here. So saying Nembutsu, which is to say Namu Amidabutsu, is just to confirm such power to take over beyond my self-power. My self-power is limited, and the law of nature is unlimited, and Amida Buddha, whatever the term is, represent the law of nature to prevail. I think that's the basic message of the Shin Buddhism. So, in a way, it may be understood as going back to the Garden of Eden, for those familiar with the Testament, Old Testament. But the use of my mind, or the self-power, is there as human being, as secondary to Amida Buddha, which is other power, or laws of nature, as I keep saying, so that it saved me from losing compassion and wisdom, which I believe can be found at the core. So that we can relate to each other, we bring out the wisdom, and the Amida Buddha, or the other power, or the law of nature, should prevail for that to happen, not the limited self-power. So, in a way, this may be seen like a hoax or joke. I think it can be seen as a joke, because you have to take over by some unknown, but I call it infinite wisdom and compassion, but that's what it is. And the point is that I see myself not able to overcome the wrong use of my mind, the self-power. It happens here and there, and that causes the trouble. So it makes sense to look into the way for the other power to prevail. So that's the background, and the Namu Amidabutsu is to point to take a refuge in Amida power, or the law of nature, so that we don't get lost. So that's the point. So following are some chapters from Tanisho, which is a talk by Shinran, recorded by Yuyen is the guy. But the Shinran is the founder of Shin Buddhism, originated 1,000 years ago in Japan. Hope this may be interesting for you. So basically the idea here is to explain my view of what Shin Buddhism is in few words. So in Tanisho, you can find the Tanisho in English, I'm sure, but I'll just pick from the Japanese one. There are, I think, 18 or maybe 20 chapters, but there may be several of them I want to go through fairly quickly. Number 1, in first chapter, if you do Nembutsu, which is Namu Amidabutsu, I have refuge in Amida Buddha to save me. It's the notion of Namu Amidabutsu. And the point here is that if you believe in Nembutsu, that the Mida, Amida, would help you to achieve or accomplish or attain the Pure Land, which is like a peaceful place to be. If you have that sense of Nembutsu that you want to do, that's when you get the benefit that Amida would have you. He doesn't have any choice choosing of this person or that person, everyone, even the sinners. So that's number one. This is interesting. Shinran is the one who promoted this Shin Buddhism. One main point is that he doesn't have anyone as disciples. That's number 6, chapter 6. The point is that he and everybody else are equal. They all do Nembutsu. Let everyone to be saved by Amida Buddha. So that's the only structure or hierarchy that's needed, if you call that hierarchy. If I say a few words on that, since you let go of yourself, what it may mean, and many express this way, is that they are gone and Amida is filling up where you are gone. So you and Amida is one and equal and melting together, so to speak. Except you still have that self-power-like thinking, and every time you may pick up with your firm belief, you may realize that, I'll let Amida to take over. So you'd say, Namu Amidabutsu, even without saying, just notice it, and then you get to that Pure Land, which is, you can call it enlightened state or blissful state. I like the idea of the blissful state because that's something I'm somewhat familiar with from Zen. Number 8, chapter 8. Since Nembutsu is in such a way that they let go, there's no such thing as your own self-power to act on certain things. So there's no acting, no things you have to do, because Amida's going to take over. So you don't have to do anything. You replace yourself with Amida's ball. So that's it. So there's no such thing as you're acting, as much as there's no such thing as you are creating the good for yourself. So there's no good. It's somewhat paradoxical, but since the Amida is going to take over, there's nothing you do. You let the Amida to take over, and therefore there's no action for you to take, but just say Namu Amidabutsu, and there's no good that you create, because that's Amida's to do, so that there's no good, but the goodness coming from their own Amida's fall. Number 10, when you do Nembutsu, it transcends all reasoning. So you replace is the word I may have used. So it's beyond the logic, beyond the self-power or any thought, good or bad. It's just replacement. So what it is that everything is inexpressible. That's power, indefinable, and inconceivable. Whatever happens, happens. All good for all good for Amida Buddha to take over to the state of being that you find peace and blissful sensation in the Pure Land. 11. When you recite the Nembutsu, you say Nembutsu, and that is due to the will of Amida. So Amida is telling Nembutsu. So there's nothing of your self-will mixed in it. So everything is taken over by Amida. Whenever you say Namu Amidabutsu, as simple as that. You let go of yourself for the will Amida, so the will of the Amida is going to take over. 12. So if you believe in the will of Amida and say Nembutsu, then you become Buddha. So there's no need for more study of this and that, or act on it, saying right and wrong. You let everything to happen. So it's an easy way to be Buddha. That's why they call yokotobi, jumping sideways instead of climbing up the ladder, do this, do this, do this, do that. No. You're replacing yourself with Amida, with your Nembutsu. So whatever happens, like I said, is following the law of the universe. That's the wisdom and compassion would come on its own. So you're empty, no self, but Amida. 14. If you think you would throw away your sin, that sounds good in a conventional way of thinking, but it is the mind, the self-power, your thinking of getting rid of the sin. So you don't have to do that. Because again, those who are intent upon canceling their sins are relying on self-power. That means the person who think like that have no faith in the other power, Amida power. As simple as that. 16. When faith is obtained, our rebirth into the Pure Land is entirely left to the will of Amida. Not simple as that. And the last one, this is from the postscript of the Tannisho. In this world of impermanence and of pain and suffering, which is like a house on fire, where beings full of evil passions are inhabiting, all in vain, all is empty, where beings full of evil passions are inhabiting, all is vain, all is empty. There's nothing true except the Nembutsu, which only is true. So those are the basic points that I picked up from Tannisho, which I believe many Myokonin may have experienced as they listen to the teaching, which is very simple when it comes down to it. So, last part is my friend Michio, who I believe is like Myokonin of modern day. He's about my age, and we corresponded. I lost touch with him, but I'm happy that I have maybe 15 different files with him. So from that, I think I pick a few interesting ones. One line he says, well, what should I say? Yeah, he said the same thing. If you learn what this Amida Buddha is, and if you can do this Nembutsu, there's nothing else. Whatever you read, that doesn't matter. All the ignorant being, including himself, his pointing is that teaching is too difficult, so that's okay with it. You just have to feel it. Let's spread the circle of Nembutsu with others. Those who are smart, who make things more difficult. It could be better if those who are not so smart to spread this idea. The goal is to let people to go to the Pure Land for those who pray for Amida's thought to take over. That means everything is just being natural. But it could be that our habitual pattern is that even if we are stupid, which Michio was saying himself actually, by trying to use the brain unnecessarily, in spite of the fact there's nothing needed. So that's the point, that it's unnecessary, that everybody will be saved, even the sinners, evil person. He says the notion of impermanence and the notion of even the sinners, evil person, can go to the Pure Land. It's like heaven. Maybe we should do those two things. So there may be a need for us to realize this world is such a impermanent, ephemeral, like a mirage. So there may be a need to realize, even, especially if the bad, evil person can be the right audience to go through. So such realization may be necessary. This one, he says, just a couple more lines. I think he's reflecting of his own experience, which I can talk about some other time. But when you sense that you're almost at the bottom in the hell in this world, then that may make this transition to happen. If you want to study, you can do it after you got this Shin belief in Nembutsu and have the experiencing of the Amida's help, perhaps awakening like experience, which again I can talk about some other time. But if you do the study beforehand, you won't get it. So that's also it's a reason why it's better to be ignorant about what the teaching is. Just get the simple message and have faith in this process. So such is just a few lines out of many files that I created. It's very difficult to put the words thinking around to explain if you are trying to do that. But as I pointed here with those few lines, maybe 10 or 15, whatever ideas I shared, and if you look into each of them and understand, it just tells a very simple story that you let go of yourself and let Amida to take over, or let the law of nature to take over, which means you don't do anything. But you may say, Namu Amidabutsu, so that you confirm that you're letting Amida to take over. That's all you need. So this is probably the simplest of all the religious teachings or instruction, but have faith in Amida Buddha. No commandment, no disciplines, but faith, no thinking, not unnecessary thinking, not even trying to let go of your sin. You don't even try it. So you can relax. It's kind of like samadhi that I mentioned in the Zen, Shira Samadhi Panya, be in the state of awareness, because it's emptiness, there's no mind. But let things happen. Then something amazing can happen. But if you expect it, that's your self-power. So no expectation. But say Nembutsu, end of story. I'm not sure if I can say I'm a devoted to Shin Buddhism, but I can relate to the message. And I just wanted to share what the key message is, as much as I'm interested to go through this process and relate to what's going on, what's happening, and how amazing it is. I've already posted few YouTube videos, so there's lots of element of what this is, but this I hope may capture the essence of basic principles of Shin Buddhism